Okay, here we are. Good. So in the last one, I kind of made it a little bit shorter just to make this expected value video kind of its own. But overall, what we understand is that if this value is positive, we are doing something right. And ultimately, we actually have a profitable system. Now, when it comes to this value being positive or being larger, smaller, whatever it might be, that's where we get into the discussion of win rates, risk to reward, and how being correct does not mean you are making a profit or a profit. Okay, there we are. Does not mean you're making a profit. And this is fundamental, right? So let's underline some of the main things you understand so far so that this thing really, really sits with you for the rest of time and you truly understand what this means, right? Everything is based on an initial risk basis of thinking in 1 unit of risk or 1 RR. That's the maximum we ever stand to lose. That's why, as part of our expected value calculation, if we have a percentage that we're associating with the amount of times that or when we lose, what percentage of how many of the trades that we take do we end up actually losing, then we know that's going to be our actual expected loss over a lot of trades. And then if we also know what we tend to gain the other percentage of the time, so again, this comes down to the simple way that I explain this thing, the percentage of the time this happens and your reward minus the percentage of time that happens and your risk, which is basically percentage of the time I win, percentage of the time I lose, right? And if we put those together, we come out with either a positive or a negative number. Now, kind of like what I said last time, this is already a fundamental building block of your entire profitability, right? Because if you've already understood this, what that means is that if you're running case studies, and if you're running data collection, so you're collecting data and data and data, and you're able to collect for yourself 100 pieces of data. So let's say you have 100 different lines of trades that you've collected data on. Already you have a somewhat large mathematical sum of trades. Mathematical. You have a large enough mathematical sum of trades now to go through and say, how many of them won? How many of them lost? Let's say 50 of them, or let's even say, let's just say 50 of them were losers, right? 50 were losses. And at the same time, let's say 10 did nothing. So let's say that you gained 0 on 10, and then 40 were winners. And let's say on average, you gained 4. Sure, let's just say 4 RR per win, right? So what does this mean? Well, that means that for the 50 losses, you've guaranteed that you've taken a -1 RR for each. 50 losses is negative 50 RR, right? The zeros don't do anything. The zeros just end up at 0 RR. And the 40 wins of 4 RR average is a gain of 160 RR, right? And overall, we go through this and you're up around 110 RR after 100 trades. Well, is there a positive number at the end of this given expected value? Yes. What does that mean? It means you're a profitable trader. And what does that also mean? You already have a profitable system. That's it, right? It's as simple as that. On one hand, as you're watching this, I want you not to just imagine that trading is just a super simple thing, because it's not. But the mathematics behind trading, the mathematics behind what you're doing, and then when you apply the conceptual to the mathematics of data collection, all of it is relatively simple, because all you're doing is you're looking for an output of a positive number. And if that exists, you are actually just fully profitable and should be moving on. But now this brings me to my next point, and that is win rates. So a lot of people in trading associate being profitable with being correct. Being correct, having a high win rate, having a very good amount of win rate. And I'm going to distill this. I'm going to destroy this idea right now, and I'm going to destroy it very quickly. And we're actually going to destroy it by going back to the example that you guys saw me kind of do here. And that is that the question becomes, right, very simply, I've done this before with my team, but I'm going to make it really quick for you. Let's just say your system is as simple as you wait for accumulation MB off of a C time frame, price starts to make a move, you look for kind of maybe a breakdown, or you look for the V to go into an accumulation of some sort, and on the momentum MB1, you look for just an entry, you put your stop really far below, and you look for an opportunity that takes you higher for maybe 1 to 1 RR, 1 to 2 RR, or even less. Let's just say that's your overall system. So again, using the exact same conceptual approach that I've already taught you to actually understanding price, but just using much larger entries and larger stops, because you guys already know, if I put on a tool like this, wherever I put my stop, if I put my stop here, this is overall still going to be a risk of 1 RR. That's it. That's 1 RR, minus 1 RR. And we'll do the calculations for that later and talk about how that can function. So that means that, let's say, QQQ in this case, this is NASDAQ, also known as NQ, US 100, however you want to view it. Around here on the weekly, I'll actually do this for you so you guys can actually see the conceptual used, because I actually labeled this for myself. But around here, we came out of the stage 1. So that stage 1 right here created an accumulation MB. This is just around where the accumulation MB happened. Price began to go sideways, right? Sideways onto the rising 5, 10, or 20 EMAs to get bought up. And that started creating the momentum MB1, which means that as that's happening, it's very, very likely that on the validation time frame, so the daily, we're going to go through a momentum cycle. I would say back here that it's very likely, this would have been your accumulation MB at the time. Because again, we don't know until after the fact, right? Clearly now we know this was the accumulation MB right here, and this was the momentum MB1. But at the time, you might have seen this as the accumulation MB. So some of you might have watched, So some of you might have ended up looking at this and thinking that, okay, this could be the momentum MB1 right here. And let's say, just like I said a second ago, your system is but as simple, right? You're just looking for the long through the momentum MB or from an area inside the momentum MB, maybe even get tapped in here, right? And all you're doing is you're protecting a very large stop. So you're protecting most of the action and you're looking for a move higher. Done, okay? And maybe you look for a 1-to-1 RR. Or let's make it even crazier. You look for a 0.1 RR. But let's start with the 1 RR. If you did a version of this system and you entered any trade that met these kind of rules, so maybe you took that one, then you waited for a reset, momentum MB1, maybe you entered this one, again, same thing, wouldn't have stopped you out, but would have then made a move, and that looks good. Comes down, makes another momentum MB here, you enter this one, you enter this one, right? So all I'm doing right now is I'm looking for a distribution into an accumulation, into a momentum MB1, and I'm entering through the high. Entering near the high, again, same exact thing, starts making the move, fails down, look for the move higher, enter through the momentum MB1, didn't happen, nothing to do. Comes down, comes up, makes an momentum MB1. So you look to enter that momentum MB1, and you take that, distributes, starts making another momentum MB here, and now this might be the trade you're in, right? So let's actually go back here. Since around March of 2023, so March of 2023, you guys can't see that, there you go. March of 2023, up until most recent price, which is December of 2024. So basically looking at around January, February, March, basically about a year and a half of data, right? Given a risk of 1 RR, because that's what we risk per trade, that's all that we can risk. Given this system, what have we found from just this data? Well, what we see is we have a +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, +6, right? We have a +6 RR gain on 6 trades, okay? And all 6 trades won. So that means that we have a 100% win rate. Okay. Now, to a lot of people, this looks really promising. And to some people, maybe this is the kind of system you want. Now, that's not to say that every trade is going to be profitable. This one could have become a loss. This one can become a loss, right? If we look at prior trades that might have occurred, where, for instance, you saw this accumulation happen, it then made a momentum MB, maybe you took something like this. This could be an example of a loss, right? So again, if this is another trade we took, now you're at a 5 RR gain over 7 trades, 6 RR gain over 7 trades, but your win rate is now, you won 6 out of 7 trades, so your win rate's 85%, right? So let's just do something like this. Let's imagine this is our first potential system, right? There you are. This is one of the systems that we could execute. Now, this should all make sense to you based on everything we've gone through. If these were the entries you took, and each entry has a stop, so this area right here associated with it being a -1, which is our 1 unit of risk, -1 RR, and we took all these trades, and all the trades is waiting for an accumulation MB, waiting for a momentum MB1, and then trading through the momentum MB1 with a big stop and with going for a 1-to-1 risk to reward, which means that if price wins, we get 1 RR out of it. If this is all we did, right, we can actually add another one here if we wanted to, and that one would have been a potential loss too, right? There it is, there's another loss. I'm not going to add those all because it doesn't matter, but let's just say these are all the trades we took. We have a 6 RR gain, 7 trades, 85% win rate. To some people, that's amazing. They see that win rate, they're like, this is phenomenal. And we made 6 RR, it's crazy, right? But this took about a year and a half. And sure, this in a sense could be a system that you trade. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so that's one. Let's now go ahead and Yeah, so that's one of the systems we could have ran. Now, something else that I could do if I was someone that was really worried about win rates is I could say something like, well, since I don't want to lose my trade, I'm going to take an even smaller profit. I'm going to start taking profits at 0.15 RR. So what does that mean? Well, that means this trade would have been a winner, still a winner, 0.15 RR. This trade right here would have been what? Also a winner, 0.15 RR. This trade would have been what? An easy winner already, 0.15. This one, another winner, 0.15. This one, a winner, 0.15. This one, a winner, 0.15. And funny enough, this one right here would have also been a winner at 0.15. And even if we took this one here, it's a winner at 0.15 RR. So what we just did, okay, is we improved. Let's get rid of this one because we're just using 7 trades right now. All we did just now is we actually improved ourselves to what? Right? Just now by doing that, we've actually improved our win rate. Can you guys believe it? To 100% win rate. So that should be one of the best systems ever, right? I should be able to go and sell you now a course and a signals for this 100% win rate system where like, oh my God, we never lose. But what have I actually done? So here I made 6 RR over the span of 1.5 years, right? Or so. This is 1.5 years or so. Maybe even more now, like 2 years. Okay, now what I did all of a sudden is actually made my win rate 100%. And out of 7 trades, how many trades did we win? 100 trades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trades won. And on each trade that I won, where I risk 1 RR, right? What was the gain? 0.15 RR. So I actually only gained 1.05 RR over 7 trades with a 100% win rate. And that begs the question now. If I came to you with a system or with multiple systems and I offered to teach you or to sell to you a system that could do one of these, which one of these systems would you prefer? A lot of you would very quickly and hopefully, even as you're watching this video, choose this one. But you're choosing a system with a smaller win rate. Win rates are a completely useless thing to consider because they are only a small portion of what makes up an overall reflection of a good system. That's something I want you to write down and remember, because the next time you take a loss, the next time you notice that your win rate isn't 100% or 80% or 40% or a win rate that you might have wanted, because remember, my personal win rate at the moment over the last year at the time of making this portal is only around 30%. And yet, at a 1% risk, we're looking at a compounded return, which we'll talk about soon, of over 442% gain. How is that possible with such a low win rate? I thought high win rates make a good system. They don't. You guys know this now. So let's refer back to this. Okay? A lot of you should and know that you would choose this system, which means already you have a preference that goes outside of win rate, because win rate doesn't determine how well you do for yourself in the market. Very, very important. Now let's take this to the next level. This is something that I've also done with my team, but let's say your system was revolved around a more tighter stop, smaller stop, around a potentially better entry over a lower time frame. So let's do the same 7 trades. You see this MMB1, right? You tighten it up and you get it right behind the candle, and you look for a delivery that you trail. In this case, price begins to go, it pauses, it goes, maybe then you move your stop loss to break even, right? Or whatever, or at this point as it goes, you move your stop loss to break even and you take a break even, okay? So let's say you take a 0, or let's make it even better. You take a -1, so you took a loss on this one. Let's do that with every trade now. You would have taken this trade, you would have taken another -1. Let's just assume you're not taking any break evens, you're just taking -1s. Then what? You take another trade. You take it through this MMB. You tighten it behind the stop. You wait, price starts, pauses, goes, you move to break even, okay, you move to break even, price pauses, goes, maybe you move your stop up, price pauses, goes, you move your stop up, price pauses, goes, you move your stop up, you keep moving your stop up, pauses, goes, pauses, goes, pauses, goes, pauses, goes, pauses, goes, pauses, goes, and maybe you get stopped out up here, or pauses, starts going, and you get stopped out here. Okay. So now this trade might be worth 11.27. Sure, let's record that, plus 11.27. So again, I'm not looking at a lower time frame. I'm not looking at how I could have traded this on a lower time frame. All I'm doing now is I'm using the C time frame and the V time frame to establish the same entry that we've just looked at. One that was a super large stop with a respectable risk to reward ratio. Another, which was the same large stop, but looked for a tiny gain and brought up our win rate, but wasn't worth it. And now we're looking at one where we tighten up the stop and we potentially let a move go with no fixed stop. So then again, we have this trade where let's say you take it, you tighten up your stop, you take another loss, another -1. Then let's say you take, you would have definitely taken this trade right here. Tighten up your stop behind just the candle. You wait, it pauses, it goes. I'd probably throw my stop here. And you would have gotten, it pauses, starts going. So maybe you throw your stop here. Let's just call it here. So this one ends up being +2. Right? I'm just using that number, +2. So that's this number, risk to reward ratio, because remember, each one of our stops, whether it's this or this, is a -1R, because that's going to come down to calculation, which we'll talk about very soon. So +2, again, the same 7 trades, but a little bit different. So we take this trade here through that high, we tighten up our stop, right? We look for it to go, pause, go, pause, go. Maybe we have our stop us out here. Let's just say it does for whatever reason. So this would end up being a +1.82. Okay, then we end up ignoring it again until this trade here, but instead of that trade, we tighten up our stop. We look for it to pause, go, probably give it a second to pause. There we go, we get a go. Throw our stop maybe under here, right? We wait for a pause, nice. We throw our stop under here. Probably because of the move, we throw our stop here, pause, go, throw our stop under here, pause, maybe I throw my stop up here somewhere. Okay, pause, I probably throw my stop here, and it looks like it would have stopped us out here. Okay, sure. So we get stopped out of that trade right there. There it is, right there, okay, for 7.86. Again, no partials, no nothing else, just looking at the RR gain, 7.86, looking at that number. 7.86, next trade, where is it? Right there. We tighten up our stop. That's all we do. We let it start to move. Pull back, go, throw our stop here, pull back, start moving. Again, maybe we throw our stop just under there, and we maybe get stopped out right there, okay? And that would be for a gain of 2.24 plus 2.24. And this one, same thing, right? We enter, we have our tighter stop. This is the entry right there, tighter stop. It goes, pauses, goes, kind of pauses, goes. Maybe you get stopped out, I would say probably around here. And that would be for a gain of around 1.37. Okay, so now what's changed? Okay, what has actually changed here? Well, we have over 7 trades taken how many losses? 1, 2, 3. 3 losses? Is that right? 3 losses, yes. 3 losses. So what has our win rate moved to? 7, 6, 5, 4. So we've won 4 trades. Okay. 4 out of 7 trades were won. So we now moved our win rate to 57%. We have substantially reduced our win rate by tightening up our stops, right? Which means that we have a likelier chance of getting stopped out. But what else has happened? Okay, well, we took, let's go ahead and add it up, right? We took an initial -1, then we took another -1 right here. Then we took a plus 11.27 on this nice move here. Then we took another -1. That's this trade here. Then we took a +2. That's this trade here. Then a plus 1.82. That's this trade here. Then a plus 7.86. That's this trade here. Then a plus 2.24 on that trade right there. And a plus 1.37 on that trade right there. Okay. So what we find, right, is in this case, we've moved it to a plus 23.56 RR gain over the same 7 trades at now a 57% win rate. And again, over the 1.5 years, right? So again, I'm just working you through this so you can see it fundamentally for yourself. Because again, like I said, once you see this one time for yourself, you should no longer ever worry or think about taking losses or think about taking losses or worry about taking losses the same way that you ever did before. The point of a lot of this portal material and this course here is to give you the ability to do this for yourself, to think for yourself, to act for yourself, and to have conviction in yourself. And that conviction starts with understanding how you've been lied to and why these kind of thought processes are dumb for you. Because now, again, if I asked you, which one of these systems would you like to pay me to teach you? A lot of your answers should now reflect, teach me this, right? I want to learn this system. This system makes sense to me, right? It makes a lot of money. And now what does that mean? What that means for you is that you're asking me to teach you how to have a lower win rate, right? So already, just through your now laid understanding of how 1 RR risk parameter starts everything, we allow ourselves to take -1 RR as our max loss. We now understand how EV functions as part of our profitability. Because of all that put together, we now have a full understanding as to why win rates are no longer important. And as a result, how being correct does not mean making profits, right? Because if I really wanted to be correct, what could I do? Well, if I really want to be correct every single time, theoretically, I should buy something, throw my stop here, and look for the smallest return I can possibly get. Now, if I took every trade that I ever took in my life like this, I'm going to return about 0.06 R every single time I win. What that means is if I put on let's say I have a $10 million account and I want to risk 1%, that's going to be 100K, right? What that means is that every single time that I put $100,000 of risk behind 1 RR, which would be this stop, and I gained plus 0.06 R every time I won, where 100K equals 1 R, well, then very simply, off of 100K, I would make 0.06 R. So every single time I took a trade like this one, I would make 6K, right? That's what that means. That means that if I ever did take a loss, I would almost never be able to make it up for with my winners. But at least if I took every trade like this, if you notice, the odds of me winning and being correct are very, very high. I can increase my percentage of being correct by an absurd amount. I could increase this to maybe 99% of the time I can be correct. But does that mean I make more money? Not at all. And already just this mini exercise right here, where I know anyone that watched this through till the end is looking at this value here going, well, teach me the 23.56 RR gain system. I want to make money. Already you are begging me, you are asking me to teach you how to take more losses. Because fundamentally you're saying, instead of winning all 7 trades, Anton, please teach me how I can only win 3 trades. So basically what you're asking now is, Anton, please teach me how to take more losses. Anton, teach me how I can take an extra 50% of my trades as losses, because it would make me make more money. So fundamentally, losses are the only thing that are shaping how much money you're actually going to make. Which means by the end of this video alone, and your added understanding of -1 R as a unit of risk, risk to reward, and win rates now, you should be begging to do enough data to learn where there is positive value rather than wasting time on worrying about if the next trade is going to be a win, or if your analysis is going to play out, or if the trade that you're taking is going to deliver. Because none of that matters anymore. What matters is that this number ends up positive. And if that number ends up positive, it's a profitable system.